We're back with another edition of the BUZZCast here at Buzzworthy Radio, continuing with our coverage of the 39th annual Santa Barbara International Film Festival. I'm Navel J. Lee, and today we got to sit down and talk with Mike Manning, who actually stars in the film Edge of Everything. This actually premiered on the 8th, which was yesterday. It has a second screening on Monday, and it's a coming-of-age film. It deals with a teenager dealing with the loss of her mother, having to move in with her father and his younger girlfriend, and she winds up becoming friends with, in easier terms, a girl from the wrong side of the tracks. And there's a lot that happens in that relationship, and it gets very deep and it gets very interesting. And I, for one, love these type of films. And we got to talk to Mike about this film, and we got to revisit some history with Days of Our Lives when he was on there as Charlie, and also talk about the Bay. What a great guy. It was great to catch up with him, and now you guys get to see this interview too. Here it is, our chat with Mike Manning. First of all, thanks for joining me. It's been a long time coming. I can't believe this is the first time I'm having you here. Just
Yeah, thanks for having me.
absolutely. So one of the things that it's amazing that so much coverage I've been doing this week so far for the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, which actually kicks off tonight. And when I was introduced to Edge of Everything and I was coming across the names who were in the film, I got to yours and I had to do a double take and go, is it the same Mike Manning that I know?
Yeah,
And then I looked it up and sure enough, it was you.
in the flesh.
In
Yeah,
the flesh. So I was just completely and utterly surprised by that in the best way possible that um, it was you that's in this film. And I haven't finished it yet, but I have started it. I'm about 45 minutes in, but it's already intriguing because the synopsis of the film, for those that don't know, this is actually premiering in North America for the first time at SBIFF, which is tomorrow, um, at the Fiesta Theater, ironically at 420.
oh yeah, I didn't even put that together. Yep,
I
ironic.
didn't,
Funny.
guys, the reason why I said that is that in the film, there's a reason why I said that time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not us. It's not reflecting on our personal lives, unless you're into that, and then maybe it is. I don't know.
We're just having to throw that disclaimer out there for all of you. But once I noticed that, and I just put two and two together after watching the film and starting it, I was going, oh, I don't know if that was your intention, but because you did that, I have to call it out.
I don't think that we did that on purpose. I think it's just a happy accident.
That was a very happy accident. And it's really honestly, from what I'm seeing so far, it's a great coming of age film. And just it does start off, which we can talk about. It starts off with the main character. There is a passing in her family that she has to deal with, and she's not coping with it well, especially with her dad getting with a much younger woman. And
Hmm.
I will say that just for what I've seen of her so far, I don't like her. If I'm allowed to say that, and if I'm not, oh well, I don't like her. But that means she's playing her part well, and she's basically starting to experiment and found a new friend to experiment with. It's my so-called life, but to the extreme is what I feel of it.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And I think that's sort of what I love about the movie is that when I was reading the script for the first time, I felt almost like I would look around being like, I feel like I shouldn't be reading this. It almost felt like reading a young woman's journal because it is so real and raw and as far as I can tell, accurate to what young women go through. It's very much a coming of age story, and Sierra McCormick plays it beautifully in her portrayal of Abby. And I think the reason that the script is so accurate is because Pablo and Sofia were the directors. They're a couple. They're the directors and they're the writers, and they wrote it together. And I think when you have a male writer and a female writer, and they grew up in that area. One of the houses that we actually shot in was the house that they grew up in, and so it was very much like even the Bay Area was a part of their upbringing and a part of the film and that culture.
Yeah.
And I think that Sophia was there to sort of really really accurately portray what young women go through in that area when they're trying to figure themselves out, going through those experiences. And then Pablo was there to say, okay, cool. And this is also what men go through and how men act and everything else. And so it was very much a song and dance with them in creating the script, in shooting the script. Like I said, we shot in one of the homes that they grew up in. And so it was so close to them that I think that makes it gives the film almost like a documentary feel to it when you're watching it. You're like, wow, these characters are so real. This dialogue is so real. These moments are so accurate. I feel like I'm watching a documentary and not something that's been scripted and actors are acting out.
It's interesting you say that. I never pictured it in that correlation before, but as you said that, it's actually true because just from how the shots are done and the dialogue that has been put in there, you're right. There's a lot of it that, at least from my experience, that I've observed with others as well as myself in that life. Um, there is that sense of realness that you are seeing because again, you're having that animosity now with the dad being with someone new and how that relationship is not just with the new woman in his life but also with the father himself because now that relationship has been skewed a little bit so that's also a realism that people experience when that happens and I did that at one point and it definitely resonated with me just a little bit as far as how those types of relationships go. So I definitely agree with you on that, and very interesting that you put it in that perspective because that is true. And then also even with in any coming of age, and then you're unfortunately or sometimes fortunately you're finding new friends and relationships and sometimes they're better for you and sometimes they're not they're pulling you down and getting to experience that as well and as much as the peer pressure and also getting to as we mentioned right in the beginning of this experimenting especially at that young age. I mean the character of Abby is 14 so it's just it's definitely something that would resonate with a lot of people where they'll watch this and go, I lived through this and or
Mm-hmm.
they know somebody or even if their own child's going through it, my own child's going through this now. So it's
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with those aspects of it. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And it also has Euphoria vibes where you watch and you're like, these young people shouldn't be doing this. But I mean, there are young people that are those characters and that do those things. And so it also makes you, when you're watching it, you're like, oh wow, this is rough. They're really doing these things, trying these things. But that also lends to the fact that, you know, you're watching young people really figure out who they are for the first time in many ways
Yeah.
with certain aspects. Yeah.
And the as you said too, the dialogue is just it's definitely amazing because it's so accurate. I think
Mhm.
it's a great depiction, really, for what is being said by the said it by what's being said by these young kids in the film because we we said it ourselves, but we are also experiencing with those that are saying it now, and I'm looking at them going like, this is actually what they talk about and how they talk about it. So I thought that was actually a really great aspect of that as well.
Mhm.
How did you get involved in the film? How was it brought to your attention? And when it was, you kind of already pinpointed this in the beginning when you were looking at the script, going, "Oh my god, this is like reading somebody's journal." What was initial reaction of as well as reading the script and getting involved with that?
Yeah, yeah. So I found out about the project through a friend of mine named Kate Kennedy, and then I met with the writers, directors, Pablo and Sophia, and read the script, and I was like, wow, this looks great. How can I be involved? And then I sent them my stuff, and they were like, we love you for Zach, and
Mhm.
that was that. And I showed up on set and did my days, and then I jumped back in on the sales side. So in the beginning, I was just an actor. I was like, I'm
Mhm.
just an actor. I just want to show up and do my thing. And then I also have a production company, and I have a lot of experience producing. So I helped them on the sales side when everything was done and packaged and shot and everything else. And so that's why I'm also involved and listed on IMDb on the producing side as well, is because
I did see that. Yeah,
so that is my involvement.
that is your involvement, and the fact that it's making its North American debut at SBIFF beginning tomorrow, is having two screenings actually tomorrow and then on Monday the 12th. That had to have been such an exciting moment, especially at such a festival as this, that I think a lot of people want to be involved in. And I'm sure this is my first time ever being a part of this in this kind of capacity. So I'm just imagining just the process to even get your films accepted into this festival. It must not be an easy process at all.
Yeah, I think festivals, I mean, I love film festivals because I am an indie filmmaker at heart, and I love that festivals are a place where people that love movies come together to celebrate movies. So you have chances to meet the actors and the writers and the directors and the cinematographers and
Mhm.
the composers and everybody that, because it takes a village, everybody that's
Yeah.
involved with a film, producers, everybody, you have the chance to meet them and they all celebrate this little baby that they made together. And that's great. And then also a byproduct of that is exposing it to sales agents and distributors and buyers and so that's great too. And film festivals, or a way to get press when everybody comes together. So at first for me, festivals are a celebration of movies. Second, they're a place to sell movies. Third, they're a place to get press for those movies, especially indie films that don't have a
Yeah.
huge marketing budget. It's a way to sort of generate some buzz. And I think the Santa Barbara International Film Festival is definitely one of those opportunities for the film. Case in point, we're talking right now, and then tomorrow we're all going to go to the premiere and celebrate together and take some pictures and start talking about it. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I'm really excited with where the film, how the film ended up, and I think audiences are gonna love it themselves.
It's funny, we talked about documentaries in the beginning of this conversation, and I was actually talking to a couple of people yesterday promoting their films that are premiering at SBIF. And one of the things I told everybody is how much I love documentaries. And it's one of those wheelhouses that if you tell me a documentary is being shown, I will run to the theater to watch it. I'm such a huge fan of those. And it's it's a great it's a great festival to have documentaries be seen. And the documentary that I was interviewing with yesterday is actually the opening night premiere this evening, and just the fact that they chose a documentary, that's huge in in that respect as the opening night film. But it's just as you said, for indie films and as well as documentaries, this is the perfect avenue for their quality of work to be represented. And I love indie films because they're able to do a lot more with those films than they could in a bigger production. They have more freedom, and that's one of the things I really love about indie films. Case in point, not necessarily indie film, but also with the Bay. Gregory Martin is my homie. I loved him for many years. We worked together. Oh my gosh, I'm about to show my age here. 20, oh yeah, 20 years ago was the first time him and I worked together. And
Okay.
we did yeah, we did radio soaps together at the time. And worked alongside him at that point, and that's how I got into his orbit. And then once the Bay first started, him and I, we were always promoting it with Tiffany all the time, and just with the fact that he's able to do what he wants to do with it, it's absolutely incredible. So, and that's another reason why I like his show, is because he has that freedom and that capability to do what he wants to do with it without any interference, and that's what I like about indie productions. So
Yeah, yeah, no, I think indies are fantastic, and it's you have to love it because it takes a village, and it. I did a film a couple years ago, and I produced it. I gave notes to, and it was soup to nuts. Like I gave notes to the director, and then I I found the script, gave notes to the director, raised all the financing, shot the whole thing while I was acting in one of the lead roles, and then oversaw post production with the editor, and then the deliverables, which are a whole nother beast in and of themselves, and then sold the film. And it was like from soup to nuts, I did it, and I don't know if I'll ever do that again. It was a lot, but it was at the end of it, watching that movie, I was so proud because I was like,
Sure.
oh man, I had my fingers in every aspect of that movie. And now that the world received it, I think it still has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's amazing.
And it premiered at a film festival too, and that really helped us sell the movie, and it won the audience award, and that helped us. So, again, another testament to films, film festivals making a difference in the lives of independent movies. And the
Yeah.
Bay, you just mentioned like watching Gregory and that whole team, what they're able to do by making an independent show. Independent movies are one thing, independent shows, TV shows are a whole nother beast. And to see them grow what they, was a web series essentially, and every single season it's gotten better and expanded and expanded. You have to respect the hustle, and you have to respect the dedication that takes to take a show from this to this. And now it's a well-respected show. They've won like 23 Emmys or something
Hmm.
collectively. I have 2 Emmys thanks to that show, and I'm very grateful. And so, it's another example of just not giving up and just sticking with a vision and telling your story, and hopefully audiences connect with that story.
Yeah, you do have two Emmys from that show. Yes, I've been following. And your chemistry with Eric Nelson, and that's another homie of mine. Love that dude to death. He's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. I do have to mention, I can't leave this conversation without talking about this, but I was so pissed that they made your character a villain on Days. I really did, because we called you at one point on the artist formerly known as Twitter Superman Clark Kent because of the glasses. So we kept nicknaming you Clark every time you would show up on screen. And then of course they made you a villain, and
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
it was depressing.
Yeah, it was depressing. I mean, number one, I love Superman. So when the writers said that they wanted to give me this like dual personality kind of thing, I was so all about that because I love Superman. I love Clark Kent. I've loved those comics since I was little. And so I thought it was really cool. And I feel a lot of people felt the way that you did because in the beginning, I decided that I think no character is all good and no
Right.
character is all bad. Interesting characters are somewhere in the middle and they have these little nuances. And so they told me, they didn't actually, when I first got hired onto the show, they didn't tell me how bad Charlie was going to get. They just said, hey, this is where it is in the beginning. They sent me a pile of scripts for the first, week or two of episodes. And then, as I went, I got more and more invested in Charlie. But in the
Yeah.
beginning, all I knew was that he was a new intern for Titan Industries and that he was falling in love with this girl. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to play that he really wants this job and that he really loves this girl. And when they made me worse and worse and worse, like they made him badder and badder and badder kind of thing, in terms of like revealing the things that he had done and made him more and more of a villain. I still decided I was like, okay, but he still is in love with this girl. He's still in love with
Yeah.
Claire, and so I decided to hold on to that and just be like, I'm still gonna play that. I'm still gonna play that love because he can be bad and he could have done bad things, and his life can be spiraling out of control, but he can also be falling in love. And I think that that's what made people connect with Charlie and with that journey was the duality of that character. And you mentioned Eric Nelson too, like same thing on the Bay. Eric is just such a great scene partner, and he really gives it his all in every single scene. And I think it makes or breaks, an actor's ability to really, really put up good work and connect. Is if I didn't have Eric on the Bay, those scenes wouldn't have been as realistic and as heartfelt and everything else. If I didn't have Isabel Durant as Claire or Tamara Braun as Ava on Days, those scenes wouldn't have felt as rich and deep because you don't have that acting tug of war that's happening in the scene. And, it's like just one sided. And so I think on both shows, I've really lucked out with the people I've been able to work with.
I was gonna say exactly that last point. You had amazing scene partners on both of those shows, and Tamara Braun, respectively. You know, I watched her since General Hospital, and her acting opposite of you in those scenes with the revelation that Charlie is, by the way, Tripp's half brother, and Ava is Charlie's mother, and then you knocked her out, and
Yeah.
and
Oh,
just basically just went full throttle on the evil side. I was like,
yeah, yeah.
damn,
Full. Wait, what is it like full American Psycho on all of that?
you
Yeah.
really did. And I was just going like, that was a complete 180 in less than one. And like, you literally just went this in one episode. All of a sudden, I'm just going like, damn, they really didn't just hold back a little bit.
No,
You just this just went
no.
right into it, and you played it well. I'm not gonna front, you really did. But
Thank
it
you.
was just like I could I just get acclimated to his evil ways a little bit? Can't we build him up something?
Yeah,
But no, man, we were right into it. I was like, all right, I guess we're gonna. This is where we are.
yeah, yeah. They threw me in the deep end pretty quickly.
They really threw you in the deep end really quickly, and like I said, it was as much as it angered me, it was fun to watch because you really did play that very well with what they gave you. And I was proud of that. I was really proud of to watch that unfold and watch that climax of that story because you really did sell it. And you, as you just said yourself, you had those scene partners that made all of this work because if you didn't have that, this probably would not have been, in essence, regardless, everybody agreed that we didn't want you evil. It wouldn't have been well received, and a lot of the fan reaction to you that says a lot of you as an actor because they were invested in Charlie because of what you were bringing to the table, myself included.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. And I do have to say, for anybody listening, like, thank the fans again for that show and for their reaction to Charlie because number one, soap fans are the best and they're loyal and they're amazing. I've come to learn how loyal a lot of them. I'll go online and I'll see on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it now. They're like fighting with each other and they're like, well, Charlie's bad. And they're like, but Mike's a good actor. And they're like, but bring Mike back as something else and do this and do this. And
it happens. That could
dialogue,
happen. You never know. That
who
happens.
knows on soap, you never know. Yeah.
That is
So,
true. You
but
know,
the fans have really had my back every step of the way, which has been nice.
that's good. That's great. And did I mention? I thought I mentioned this to you when we were out there for the Emmys when we saw each other. I thought I mentioned that those 80s pants, I have that pair sitting in my house.
Yes, you did say that. And
I did say that, yes.
it was for I got it for an 80s party.
I did,
And
yeah, same.
it was one of those Amazon orders, but I ended up loving them. They're like some of my favorite pants now.
I literally did the same thing. It was an
Yeah.
80s party for Friendsgiving. I bought it off Amazon. I wore it to that party. I wore like that Run DMC hat with it
Okay.
and got like a shirt. I had the big chains that they wore back then. I was wearing that decked out and I kept them. I haven't gotten rid of them. It's still sitting in the drawer. And I'm going like, these are really freaking comfortable. I could wear these as pajama pants and not care.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what I do. I wear them as pajama pants.
Just pajama pants. There it is. I just saw the picture and I was like, I have those same pair.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I love Samantha's friends. They're amazing. I still had to make it to one of their events. They keep inviting me, and I never get the chance to.
You have
Never
to.
had the time to go. I
They have
never
two
find
more
the
coming
time.
up. One's in May and one's in September. So you have two more chances.
There is one in May. I knew about that one, and I'm going to see. Hopefully, if I can make it out to that one. If not, September is on the bucket list. I need to make a inaugural appearance because I know
Do
that
it. Do it. I think Gregory is going to be there. Chris is
Gregory's going to be there. Yes.
Eric is going to be there. So you're going to know, you'll know some people.
Oh, Eric.
Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation we could have. It is. Eric's my boy, but that's a whole other conversation that we could talk about with those guys. That's great. And that is actually how I met you was because of thanks to COVID, Penny and Joni put together all of those Zoom chats to talk to you guys. I thought that was such a great thing. And the fact that they're still doing it is huge.
Mhm.
So and it just gives them those fans that can't fly out to those type of events to see them in person. This gives them that opportunity to still talk to them. So the fact that they're still doing that after we are now able to go back out in public to see people, I think that's amazing. So, and
Hmm.
I know you kind of still been involved in that, and I think that's great.
Yeah, yeah, it's a way to just keep up with the fans and keep up with that community, and so I love going to those events.
Yeah, well, definitely, I'll make sure I make it out there at least to one of them. That's definitely something on 2024's bucket list. Is I got to
Do
check.
it, put it on your list, and all the money raised goes to a handful of charities,
Yes,
so
it
they're
does.
giving back as well.
Yes, it does. Yes. I'm excited for this film premiering tomorrow, and hopefully it gets a well-received reception for both screenings. And unfortunately, I will not be there, but I do implore everybody to please check it out at the Fiesta Theater tomorrow. And the 12th, I can't remember what theater that's playing in, but you also have that second opportunity to see it then if you miss it tomorrow. Best of luck with everything with this Edge of Everything so far. I'm going to finish that up after this call because I'm so excited to watch the rest of it.
Cool, cool,
I
awesome. Hey, great talking to you, and until next time.
Many thanks to Mike Manning for stopping by the BuzzCast to chat about Edge of Everything, as well as revisit some old times at Days of Our Lives, and as well as the Bay. Now, if you missed the premiere of Edge of Everything, which was yesterday, there is another screening of this on Monday, February 12th at 8:10 a.m. at the Metro 4 Theater. So make sure you guys, if you're in the area, check this film out. I enjoyed every aspect of it. My name is Novell J. Lee, making sure you keep getting the latest buzz with Buzzworthy Radio by logging on to our website at buzzworthyradiocast.com. You can follow us on X at Buzzworthy Radio, liking us on our Facebook page, and you can download our podcast in 3 different places: iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and now Amazon Music. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.